Hi, I'm Darrin Peppard. Welcome to the Leaning into Leadership podcast, the podcast dedicated to today's hardworking leader. Join me every Sunday for leadership insight, inspiration, and a little pep talk to keep you rolling down your road to awesome. Hey everybody, welcome into episode 55 of the Leaning into Leadership podcast. So the research is very clear. When our students have a significant connection to our schools, when they're involved in activities or athletics in our schools, the odds of them being much more successful in the classroom, graduating on time, and even avoiding teen pregnancy go up significantly. My guest on the show today is Activities and Athletics Director Tom Annunziata, and we're going to have a conversation about exactly that. How do we find ways to get our kids more involved in our schools? Now, let me tell you a little bit about Tom. He is the Director of Student Activities at Freedom High School in Woodbridge, Virginia. He's a 3-time Teacher of the Year award winner. And in the short time since he accepted this position at Freedom High School, he has brought wrestling, swim, golf, and baseball back to the school, expanding opportunities available for students. He continues to look for ways to increase opportunities for his kids so they can succeed through athletics and clubs, which increases their involvement in the school and makes Freedom High School a place where the Eagles soar. Tom and I had a really awesome conversation recently, and you're going to hear that right on the other side of these messages. Hey leaders, let me tell you a story. It's the story of my first year as a high school principal. I will tell you, I was exhausted, I was overwhelmed, and I lived my life breathing through a snorkel because my head was so far underwater and I didn't think there was a way out. I mean, I was a mess. The 40 feet that it was to move from my assistant principal office down to the principal's office might as well have been a 400-mile trek. I was just absolutely putting in crazy hours. I was trying to do it all, like trying to answer everybody's question, thinking I always had to be the smartest one in the room and I had to solve everybody's problems. We're talking severe Superman syndrome here, folks. Every day was fire after fire, and all I accomplished was putting out fires. Forget about leading. I was simply trying to survive. Now, after working with a leadership coach, I really was able to get things figured out, get my head from being a firefighter to actually being a leader. But it took work, and I discovered some things that really mattered. And that's why I've created Walk in Your Purpose, 5 mindsets to level up your leadership, a free ebook that you can have today at no cost. Just go to walkinyourpurpose.roadtoawesome.net/ebook to download your free copy. Again, that's walkinyourpurpose.roadtoawesome.net/ebook. It's time for you to walk in your purpose, to find joy in your job, and to be the leader you always knew that you could be.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. Explore more podcasts at www.teachbetterpodcastnetwork.com. Now let's get on to the episode.
Tom, welcome into the Leaning into Leadership podcast. Really excited about this conversation. You and I have had a chance to visit before, and so really excited to visit with you a little bit more and to let our listeners kind of check it all out. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Darrin. I'm super happy to be here and looking forward to sharing some of what I believe in.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to get to that in just a second. So before we go there, just for my listeners who maybe don't know who Tom Annunziata is, just give them the lowdown really quick on who you are and where you're coming from.
So hello, everybody. My name is Tom Annunziata. I'm the Director of Student Activities at Freedom High School in Woodbridge, Virginia, home of the Eagles. And I'm new hire here. I've been in this current position since August 5th of this year. So I have a lot of things that challenges and as well as successes that I've been able to deal with for the last couple months.
It's excellent. So you're new to not only to the school, but you're new to the administration piece as well. Am I correct on that?
I am. I was in June of last year. I was a classroom teacher. I was having a little bit of difficulty moving and breaking into the high school ranks for this particular position that I was going for, and I took a position at one of the high schools locally as an assistant. I was going to be an assistant athletic director and work with the athletic director there as a mentor. And I was there probably working with him over the summer for about 3 days. And we actually talked about this last night. I interviewed, and when I told him I interviewed, he was like, dang, he goes, I know you're going to get it. You definitely sought after. And I wound up getting the job. And it was very unique for me because my principal got hired July 1st. I got hired August 5th, and our director of guidance got hired in October or September.
Wow.
So mid-September. So all three of us were brand new in the building. And all three of us have really, we're the only one in our position in the building. So it definitely, has some unique challenges. So now my mentor that I expected to have this year is now my colleague and still mentoring me, obviously.
Yeah.
I have a lot of questions.
Yeah. So that's fantastic. I would think, though, as I'm certain that there are a lot of challenges that come with principal, director of guidance and athletic director being all new to the building and new to their roles, but there's got to be some great things there too. I would think that you guys are kind of creating it from the ground up, right?
Yeah. So one of the best things for me is we bounce ideas off of each other. We're both new. So like Sha was her first hire in the building. So I have that little place in her heart and we the trust is there. We're learning together. We're very candid with each other. I respect her immensely. And, we do have that relationship. We're both new at this, neither one of us came in here really knowing a lot of people in the building. And she's a phenomenal leader and super supportive of what we're doing. And our new guidance director as well, he's a fantastic man. And I look forward to working with everybody. I'm all about the kids. And that seems to be the attitude with the entire administrative team here, that we're here for the kids and trying to do what we can to make them have great experience while they're here for 4 years.
So listening to you talk about that, it makes me reflect on when I stepped into my first administrative role. So, assistant principal, I moved from where I was a teacher in Arizona back to my home state in Wyoming. And I learned really quick in my administrative role that I really didn't know a whole lot. I thought as a classroom teacher, right? As a classroom teacher, I'm like, man, I know what I'm doing and, what are my administrators doing? And then you start doing the job and you start kind of starting to experience all these different things, and you have to see things. And as an athletic director, it's even more so. You have to see things in much more of like a whole picture. But before we chase that, though, what are a couple of those whoa, I didn't see that coming? Or maybe I think when you and I talked the first time, you said something about, kind of like a behind the curtain moment of seeing it. Yeah. I mean, what are some things you're learning now, being new into this role?
I'll give you an experience. Probably my first or second day on the job, the bookkeeper, our finance specialist, had come in and asked me, so Mr. Annunziata, how would you like to process these forms? And I had no idea. It's not something I've ever done before. So I did the old, well, how do you like to do it? She's like, well, I'll do it any way you want. I was like, well, whatever way is comfortable for you, we'll just continue to stick with that. But I had no idea. So I went from a position of hey, I was the guy bringing the paper to somebody for a signature to the person receiving it. And I honestly didn't know what to do with it once I got it. So there's definitely some times where I'm here and I'm like, wow, I thought, I was super prepared. I have a national certification in athletic administration, and I did it at the middle school for 5 years and felt I was super, super prepared for this. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot that I do know, but the scope of it at this level is so much bigger than I ever imagined. And the amount of emails I get, I thought I got a lot of emails as a teacher. I think I have over 6,000 I've gotten in the last 3 months. And, constant phone calls, and everybody, needs your ear. And, as a teacher, I guess the way I looked at it was when I went up to an administrator, it was only a 1-minute conversation, but I didn't really think that they're having 81-minute conversations, broken up and trying to get tasks done and stuff. So, and I tell everybody, I said, if the door's open, come on in. If it's locked, just knock. I'm not trying to seclude myself from anybody. But yeah, just time management is definitely a big one. And I keep notes now. Like I went from, Post-its to like, hey, I need a notebook, to I went out and purchased a Remarkable. I don't know if you're familiar with that. So it's a remark. Yeah. So
right here in my hand, taking notes, folks, by the way, on a Remarkable. And no, we're not sponsored by Remarkable, but maybe we should be. But yeah, anyway, go ahead. Yeah, Remarkable.
Yeah, my Remarkable, I have it set up for, each type of meeting I have, my regional meetings, my district meetings, my new DSA meetings, the admin meetings, leadership team meetings. So I have my pages set up for that. And I have to keep notes. And then, on my phone, I keep my phone next to the bed. Sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night with a brilliant idea and I enter it in my phone. So, definitely like differences like that where I feel like I'm constantly, on the go and working. But I love it. I really am super passionate about what I'm doing, and I love what I'm doing. I love that being able to expand programs and stuff at the school and impact our student body. And I just, you got to have that passion, it's fantastic.
Yeah. So I just have to ask this, and then I want to chase what you just said, but how long, so you mentioned time management. So I want to go into time management a little bit, because I'll be honest with you, new administrators, that's the number one struggle they face. When I did my dissertation, I really dug deep into both organizational management and instructional leadership. Where did new principals feel most prepared? Instructional leadership, yeah, I got this. The organizational management, like you just said, you're bringing me a form and want to know how I want to process it. I have no idea. I'm sure you're at the point where you're starting to see it, and eventually, not too far down the road, you're going to have to focus on building your budget for next year. That's probably something you haven't seen before or done. How long was it from, okay, my first day on the job, come on, bring it, let's go, I can't wait, let me talk to a coach, or, let's do this, to, oh my God, I have more stuff to do than I have time to do? How long did that take? Was it like a day, a week? I mean, where are we at?
I think in the beginning, I got in thinking like I had to become accustomed to not finishing in a day, right? So that was a big thing for me. So as a school teacher, I say, hey, I finished today and I'm going to go home, right? I've learned that I'm never going to be finished, and I had to learn to accept that. Like, there's always more to do. There's always things I can continue working on. So I make checklists when I come in, and as I get through my checklist for the day, and sometimes, I'm here 12 hours, sometimes 9, sometimes 10, I haven't worked my 8.5 yet. So, but
you're working towards that.
I've done 16, 17-hour days, but if I try to stay and finish, I'll be here all day. So that's something I definitely had to come to terms with and learn to relax when I go home, because I didn't finish, quote unquote, what I had to get done. So there's always more coming. And I just, learning to accept that and be okay with it. Like, hey, I'm not finished, but I'm working toward getting finished. So, and then, that was in the beginning of the year. So again, I started August 5th. A lot of our sports programs started about a week before that. So when I got here, everything was like, I hit the ground running. And so I got through all my seasons and all the eligibility and the state required data and information entered. And then about 2 weeks ago, I was like, all right, things are starting to slow down. But then I start getting my rosters and stuff for the winter. So it's spooling back up again, So I got, start all over again. But Now I have a little bit of better strategy about how to do it. I'm not learning the system brand new. So it does get better, and it builds. But, initially it was overwhelming. And I would say probably 2 days. I was hoping that the day had 25 hours tomorrow, and
Yeah.
so it didn't take long at all to realize that this is a significant, position. Like it's going to take effort and organization, if I'm going to be successful, and support. And I get that support from my leadership, my peers, my principal, and the other members of the leadership team.
We will return to the Leaning into Leadership podcast in just a moment. But first, let me ask you a question. Have you ever said to yourself, man, I should write a book? Well, if you have, then let me ask you another question. What's holding you back? What keeps you from taking the step that moves you from, I have an idea about a book, to, I am a published author? From experience, I would bet it's probably you're wondering who would even want to read a book that I wrote. Maybe you're questioning the idea. Is it unique enough? Is it valid enough? Is it good enough to be a book worthy of having published? Hey, as a best-selling author myself, I can tell you most writers have had the exact same feelings at some point in time during their writing journey. Here at Road to Awesome, we believe in cultivating leaders by elevating voices and promoting positivity. And a part of that work is publishing books for educators by educators. Go to roadtoawesome.net and hit the Contact Us button to set up a free, no obligation conversation about your book idea. Hey, educators, we've all had incredible experiences. We all have amazing stories, and every one of them deserves to be told. Go to roadtoawesome.net, hit the Contact Us button. Let's have that conversation about your book idea. And now, back to the Leaning into Leadership podcast. So let's go a little bit deeper then into what your role is, and not necessarily the what you do day to day, but how you impact kids in your school and kids in your community. So how do you view, and maybe what do you see as the role of athletics and activities as they connect to our schools?
So the way I view it is, I have 4 years to help kids make a connection to their high school. I feel that kids that are connected to their high school are going to have better attendance. They're going to have better academics. Their involvement in clubs or activities or athletics is going to increase their opportunities for college. It's going to give them that academic diversity. So they're going to have increased. Data shows that students who are involved in athletics and activities go to college more. Right? They have better grades typically. They have to maintain their academic eligibility. Attendance is better because they want to be at school. They're looking forward to something. So one of the great things for me is I get to develop those programs for our students. I get to offer those opportunities. And clubs, like we use surveys. Hey, what are the kids interested in? I'll walk through the lunchroom and, or I see some kids staying after school. And I'll walk up to some kids at the table staying after school and say, hey, what'd you guys stay after for? Oh, this and this. Are you in any clubs? Oh, no. I said, well, if you could invent a club, what club would you like to have? And they were, oh, we would like to have this, I said, well, let's talk about it. Come by my office, during flex period. We have a flex period on Tuesdays. I said, come on, let's talk about it, see what we could do, and just build it. Like, my goal is for 100% of these kids to be attached to our school in some way. So it's fun. Like,
you mentioned when you and I talked before we hit the record button about, growing new programs in your school, and not just, having those conversations with kids in the hallway, but actually adding programs. As an example, I think you added girls swim this year, like right away. And I think you mentioned something like wrestling. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So our school, there was some programs that weren't active anymore. They're not necessarily new to schools, but they weren't active at our school. So we didn't have a wrestling program for the last 4 years. So there's no kids at our school that wrestled. And it was actually getting to the point where there were students transferring to other schools, because they wanted those things. So I think I was in the building 3 or 4 days. I was at a football practice. I met a gentleman who was interested in coaching wrestling. I said, let's talk, worked with him through the process. And about 5 minutes after he and I we're talking, someone asked me, hey, do y'all have golf? I was like, well, could you coach it? He's like, I'd like to. So I hired a golf coach, and, we're a Title I school, minority majority school. And, a lot of people go, oh, Freedom doesn't have golf. We don't have that. Well, now we do. And our golfer, who was a member of the football team as well, the coach, by the time I got him certified and everything so that he could work with the kids, they had time to do one golf outing. During that golf outing, the athlete qualified for districts. And then in districts, he missed qualifying for regionals by 4 strokes, which is two outings, So, and then I talked to the athletic directors at other schools and talked to the golf coach when I was over at another high school, and he said, that kid, he's legit, he's got a great swing and everything. So this is an opportunity that this kid, wouldn't have had we not put it together. And now that we have it, when I talk to other kids, I'll throw it out there. Like, hey, we have golf. Really? We have golf? I'd like to try that. So, it's coming, and it's opportunities that just wouldn't have been there. Our wrestling program hadn't been around for a little while. So that wrestling coach that I had talked about, we brought him in. We have 25 kids wrestling now. They started this week. Swim. We had swim, I think, 3-4 years ago. But swim's back. I hired a coach from the aquatic center in the county. And he's he's phenomenal young man. He's enthusiastic. And he's a developmental coach. So he said, if you bring me an athlete that can't swim, I'll have them competing in the 50-meter by the end of the year. So there's definitely, part of the hiring process. Baseball, same thing. We didn't have baseball for a few years. And the coach that I brought in a developmental coach from one of the baseball training centers. And he actually showed up to me talking to me about fundraising. Like he was, I think that's his main job. And he had come in, he was talking to me about it. And he said that he worked at one of the baseball programs. And I was like, hey, do you want to coach baseball? And he's like, well, I'm kind of busy and stuff. Well, he called me back about 2 weeks later, and he's like, hey, I'm just curious, man. Did you find a baseball coach yet? And I'm like, no, I'm still looking. He's like, look, I can't sleep. He goes, can I do it? So I worked with him through the process, And that's the people that I want. Those are the people that I need. Like people like this guy cares about kids. Like he couldn't sleep. Like he wanted to be there and part of this because, he didn't want the kids to not have it. And I'll bring that in. Now, my football program on the other side of the spectrum is super successful. We won our regional quarterfinals last week. Tomorrow, we are in the regional semifinal. Got my fingers crossed moving forward that, we'll move in, to the States. But, we're going to give it a great run. But I couldn't bring in a developmental coach for my football team, So, like, those are the things for me where I have to know what I'm looking for and where my athletes are, because bringing in a developmental coach, for example, for football would be ridiculous. It's the athletes are way beyond. But bringing in a coach that's expecting everybody how to run and do double plays and do all these different things for baseball would also be just as ridiculous. So I need that developmental coach who could bring in and work with kids at a level where they are. So, I'm super excited to have these things going. So we got wrestling, golf, swim, baseball. We did new uniforms this year, so I'm walking around the cafeteria talking to the kids. Mr. A, can you show us the new uniform for softball? Sure. I'll pull it up on the phone. Coach got pictures of it. He shared them with the kids. They're excited. New lacrosse uniforms. So new helmets for lacrosse, and talk to the kids when I'm making. Hey, which design do you guys like? When I'm picking them out. And give them some input so that now they want it. And I got kids that just want to try it because the helmets look cool. And just building that enthusiasm. And the same thing with clubs. I had some students come to me like, hey, Mr. Annunziata, can we do bowling? I was like, yeah, why not? I said, get some interest, get a sponsor, talk to me. And we got a sponsor. We got a non-school sponsor club. They're doing bowling once a week. And it's going to grow. And I believe in that stuff. And I don't ever like to hear like, oh, it's a minority majority school. You're not going to have interest in this and this. And if we have it, they'll play it, And one of the benefits for me coming from the middle school, especially, is I know these kids play those sports, So
Yeah.
I know at least some of them are interested because I got 3 middle schools feeding in here. So if I had, at the school I was at, we had baseball. And then I got 3 middle schools coming here. We got baseball players. We got softball players, basketball, girls basketball. Like, they're here. We just got to, offer it and they'll show up.
So as powerful as it is to get kids involved in those athletics and in those activities, get them that connection to the school. You're absolutely right. I mean, there's tons of research about, the kids who are connected to their school in at least one significant way. Odds of graduation go up by a tremendous amount. Obviously, going on to college or going on, to have a successful career, all of those things are well documented. But something else that you and I had talked about that I think is really powerful, that I really would love to hear a little bit more about, is now the other side of it. So yeah, we have the kids on the court, or we have the kids in the pool, or we have the kids, on the field, but we want our kids who maybe aren't involved in that activity to be in the stands. So when you think about the work that you're doing, or some intentional things you're doing to try to increase that school spirit, that connection that your kids have to go cheer on the Eagles, what are some things you're doing there? Maybe some things that are a little bit unique to really drive that school spirit.
So we have a teacher that stepped up, and he's new to the building as well, and he started a spirit club. And, they make banners and signs, and they hang in the different cafeterias and stuff like that, supporting the teams. So he was asking me, like, Mr. Annunziata, can we do discount tickets? Can we do free tickets and stuff? And I was trying to feel it out because, again, being new and budget holder, having the budget and stuff, that that's how the majority of my funding comes from ticket sales and stuff like that.
Right.
So I was trying to figure out a way we can go about it. So I started to notice that, like, hey, these kids are pretty legit. So one game I got an extra bus, and I brought them to an away game, and they marched in with the team. Actually they had to get tickets for that, but I did get them the bus to go to that. And then I think the last 2 home games we had, they came in, through the side with the football team, and I let them come in, and they made out of so we're the Eagles, and they took pool noodles, and they made a nest out of it, all painted up, and they have the Eagles nest, and it's on the front of the bleachers. And I let them come to, I think the last 2 games they came in for free. And they have their cheers. They do the cheers that the cheerleaders are doing. They learn the songs that go along with the marching band playing in the stands, little rally cries and things like that. We have a phenomenal marching band. And we have the dancing, we have the banners, we have the flags, we have the music, and it's top notch. Our band director does a phenomenal job with our marching band. Professionally march all the way in, and when they leave the stadium, they march all the way out, whether it's home or away. And we have, again, a top-notch band. So impressed and proud of them when they perform. So we did that. We did discount ticket sales is another way we went about that during lunchtime. So our tickets for our sporting events are $6 for a regular event. So we did $3 ticket sales during lunchtime, the day, 2 days before the game and the day before the game, or the day before and day of. But over 2 days, we did discount ticket sales, increased participation for our student body. We did a big tailgate before the game, so it started immediately after school because our games are typically 6, 7 o'clock in the evening. So some of our students to get home and come back. So we did a big tailgate before one of the games. And a lot of this stuff is just testing out, like, hey, what's going to work, what's not working, If it works, we'll try it again next year. If there's things we could tweak on it, we'll do that next year. We had some food trucks, we had cotton candy, music. So there's a lot of different things that we're trying this year to see what's going to stick. And then some of our club sponsors are phenomenal. We have an international club, a Hispanic Heritage Club, and they did salsa music during Latin American History Month, or during September. And they did, music, and the kids were doing salsa during lunch, and they were just having a great time. They were having fun with it. And we did the pep band, perform during lunchtime, and the cheerleaders performed during lunchtime, and our soul squad, the dance team, performed during lunchtime. And the kids loved it. They were recording with their phones. It was just lively. And it made it a good time to be at school. And that's the big thing. Those things are going to happen. Oh, I don't want to miss school tomorrow. I remember my first job at a high school. On a Friday, I went in, they had that pep band, the drums playing when you walked in. I felt like it was my birthday, and I never missed a Friday after that, And I just want those experiences for the kids, like myself personally. I didn't do a lot of these things when I went to high school, and I started actually getting involved with the high school stuff, volunteering at the high school by my school. I did the chains for football for 12 years at the high school. And that's kind of how I got interested in this whole athletics thing. I didn't even know it was really a job. As far as administrative job, I thought it was, just kind of people, someone did it, the coaches and stuff like that. So I started to really look into it, and it became something that I became passionate about. It's something that I love, and I wanted, my goal is to be the best athletic director that this county's ever seen, and then work my hardest, So
I love it, man.
A lot of shoes to fill. Like that. We have some good athletic directors. Don't get me wrong. I just, my goal is to be the best, and I'm going to aim for it.
Yeah, no, I love it. Well, you're off to a really great start, obviously, and have some really cool things happening right there at your school, and you're really starting to do a great job, I think, of growing more and more programs. So, congratulations for that. So let's go to the last question that we ask everybody here on the Leaning Into Leadership podcast. So Tom, what are you doing right now to lean into leadership?
I'm trying to be the leader that I always wanted. I want to be someone who is going to listen. I want to try to incorporate the ideas of the boots on the ground, the people that are working in the building every day. Like, I'm one person. I got 50 clubs. We got 25, 30 different sporting activities. So what can I do to help you be successful? Because it's not all on my shoulders. Without the staff, without our directors and coaches and stuff, none of this would be work. So what can I do to support you? Incorporating their ideas, working hard to create an environment where the students feel proud and the coaches are proud to be at this school. I'm looking for longevity. I want people to not come here because they had to. I want you to come here because this is the place to be. And just creating those environments. I'm trying to foster that. How can we get this done? Let's do it together. I want them to be invested in what we're doing. I just don't want to, at the same time, just don't want to buy, and they don't have any, investment in what we're doing, because I want things taken care of, right? And I try to be transparent. I'll pull out, hey, this is why I can't let everybody in for free. Here's a bill, just to give you an idea of what we have. I show up at practices. I go to the games, I show them, hey, I'm here to support you. What do you need? What can we do to get this done? And there's some things that I overlook. It happens. I make mistakes, wrestling. We started wrestling. We had our mats out and stuff. And I was like, hey, you know what I forgot to order? Tape. So I got a case of tape right here in my office right now, to give to my coach today. But it was just something I overlooked, and it wasn't me being malicious or anything like that. It's we haven't had these programs, so there's a lot of stuff coming from where I came from that we had it in the closet and we just didn't have it. It's not. I don't think anyone maliciously said, "Hey, we're going to hide this or not have it," or we're not going to have these sports for any particular reason. I think everyone was trying to do the best they can. I just last year at the state conference in Virginia here, I presented on this exact thing. I presented on growing programs, how we can go about it, communicating with families, talking about the benefits, the health benefits, the academic benefits, the scholarship opportunities and things like that. That's it. In a nutshell, I'm just trying to be the leader that I always want, so.
I love it, man. Now that's perfect right there. I love it. That's maybe one of the best answers that I've heard on this show, and I've heard a lot of great answers. So thank you for that. And Tom, I'll tell you what, I appreciate having this conversation with you today. I know that the listeners are going to pick up a whole lot of great things from you, and definitely pick up a lot of inspiration. What you're doing right now and the challenges you're taking on, and growing programs at the rate that you're growing programs is definitely something to be congratulated for. So keep up the great work, and thank you so much for being here on the Leaning Into Leadership podcast. Man, what a great conversation with Tom Annunziata. Again, I appreciate him coming on the show. And I want to go right at something that Tom said during the course of the interview. And that was, be the leader you always wanted. It forced me to reflect a little bit on the best leaders that I ever had the opportunity to work with. And the more I thought about them, and the more I thought about their characteristics, the traits that really started to come forward in my mind were, number one, their presence. Being there when I needed them. And number two was being a great listener. To me, the best leaders are the ones who listen to understand, listen to empathize, not just simply listen to respond. And then number three would be always having our back. Even in times when we make mistakes, because let's be honest, adults just like kids make mistakes. But a great leader is going to have your back. They're going to support you through the process, and then they're going to coach you and help you understand what it was that was wrong about how you approach the situation and how you can be better the next time around. That, to me, is the most important things. Those three things right there. Great leaders, they're going to be present, they're going to listen, and they're going to support and coach you to be better each and every time you have an opportunity to go and interact with kids or with adults. And now it's time for a pep talk. Today's pep talk takes us right back into this episode. I love that Tom talked about having 4 years to make memories that will last a lifetime. It took me back into the classroom, to be honest with you, and made me think about how each year when we have a new group of students, whether that's the 20 that we have in an elementary classroom or 30 you have in an elementary classroom, or 110, 120, 130 that you might have as a secondary level teacher, you have 1 year to build memories with those students that will last a lifetime. And it's not just memories for the students, but it's for us as well. As educators, that's the secret right there. When we focus on relationships, that's where the memories come from. When we focus on building relationships with our students, hey, the learning comes from there. But they've got to know that you love them, that you care about them, and that you believe in them. When we do that, when we focus on building those relationships, that's where those memories that last a lifetime come from. Thank you for joining me this week on the Leaning Into Leadership podcast. Have a road to awesome day. Thank you for listening to the Leaning Into Leadership podcast, brought to you by Road to Awesome. Don't forget, click subscribe, give a review, and share this with somebody who might also enjoy leaning into leadership.